Alright, demo time. As of February 23rd, 2026, this is how you do this in Google Forms. So, CS120, tutorials, and new Google Form. I think that's mostly been the same for a while, but we're going to go ahead, work our way through kind of the pieces of this, and then creating new items, and then turning it into a quiz. So, let's first just call this first quiz, or my first quiz, whatever you call it. Again, if you click up here, it'll automatically name it as long as you do this one first. You'll notice that we have our ability to do some formatting over here if we need to add a link, which remember this because you'll need a link later on from one of your videos unless you have access to be able to do a YouTube video. But for now, there we go. That is the heading, the title of the quiz. Now again, we're going to kind of go across the top a little bit, and then we'll kind of go through the different types of questions, and then we'll start building the questions. So these two pieces will actually go after we start building something, but we have our add-ons. You can hover over any of these to see it. I'm not going to mess with that. We have our theme, which allows us to change all kinds of fun stuff. And then we have a preview. Right now it's not going to work because we need to publish it. Alright, so can't submit because we need to publish it. Just close it. And then of course our undo and do. You'll notice there's no file stuff here. This is just a quick web app to allow you to build these. And I've seen lots of creative things. I've seen order forms done with these. So again, it's not just a survey or a quiz. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. Escape rooms built out of these with some of the functionality we'll talk about. But again, none of that fancy stuff up there, just the ability to kind of build the stuff. We'll spend a lot more time on the copy responder link and the share once we actually get to go through this. And eventually we'll need to publish this even really to finish the preview. And then finally we have our more. This is probably the only really file option thing we have, which we can make a copy of it, we can delete it, we can embed it into an HTML, which is kind of nice. If you wanted to put this into a web page, you could go ahead. Now remember, some of these things, they might be on the test of what you can do with it, how you can share it. But this allows you to put it on a web page, and then you can just fill out the form on a web page without having them to actually go into this Google Docs system. And then, again, some more advanced things we won't really go into in this class. Okay, so again, not a whole lot compared to all the other programs we've had, so let's kind of go look at the questions. We can add a new one, we can add import questions, we can add a title, which is essentially what this is. Image, a video, realize this video is only from YouTube, and then a section, which we'll see in a second. So, you got to click on what you want, so I want them to be here. Notice there's also this blue line here, or I mean, it's a line period. It depends on what theme you're using and what color it is. But, I guess it's always blue. So, yeah, the blue line, that's what you've selected, and they'll become important in a second. So let's go ahead and ask them for their name. Delete all that, your name. Now notice, as soon as I type in your name, this used to be multiple choice, but name's not a very good multiple choice, so you can see it's sort of short answer. But there's also, if we want to force it back to paragraph or back to multiple choice, checkbox drop down. You can upload a file here. Never really used any of these. And then date and time allow you to, you ever seen those things where you click a date and it lets you select a date and time? That's kind of what that's for. Most of what we're going to deal with is up here. So short answer is fine. I'm going to make it required because I want to know what the name is. Now, when we want to add a new thing, we click on any of these, but remember where I said that blue line? It's going to add it under whatever you have. So in this case, it added under that one. So if I want to, I can drag it down, or I can delete it and then make sure I select on this one and add a new question. Let's ask for their email. And again, short answer, makes sense, make required. Alright, let's go ahead and now add a question. Now I'm going to word this in a way that makes it multiple choice. So it's going to be multiple choice, but so when you see stuff like which of the following is your favorite. So basically, or do you like the most, right? Do you like the most, right? Do you like the most? So therefore, right, it's one. They had to be one of them. Now, if you want more, so let's say we're gonna do movies. So if you want to, again, as you're filling this out, you should be making this your own. So movie quiz, whatever your quiz is as you're following along. But so which of the following movies or whatever, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna use movies. We're just gonna be generic movie 1, and then you can just click enter, movie 2, or you can click add option, movie 3. Be careful about adding other. This allows them to type. Now, if you want to, and we'll get this kind of response and stuff, if you want to be able to chart it, adding other really complicates it because then they can also doesn't really fit the question, but they can type whatever they want. And they can misspell it, and how many movies are out there. You might just get a flat line if you have a bar chart because everyone just types a different movie. So if you want to get rid of any of them, just click the X, and then that's enough options for me. I'll make it not required. And this is being of this section, right? So this is actually going to be the movie section. And then remember, we have all these other features. One of the nice ones is a add section. So remember I told you can kind of advance with some of what you can do with this. So let's add a next section. See how it's continue to next? You can add, like, hey, if they get this right, there's all these different things, like go to selection based on answer. You can have all these different features on here. You say, if they actually answer it right, move them next. That's kind of like the escape room concept. Or if they pick drinks, take them to the drink section, which is I saw for our ordering system. But in this case, we're going to call this the food section. Now this is already a title, so if I add another one of these, again, they're essentially the same thing, so I'm not going to add a title section. And again, I'm not going to add an image. But what's nice about these two, you can also say, here's an image of this. And then you can put that at the top, and then you can say, answer these questions about that image. Or, like you're going to do in the cybersecurity, you are going to create a video on a cybersecurity attack, put it at the top, and then make a quiz about that. But we'll worry about that in that lesson. All right, so we've got a food section. Make sure if I click here, anything adds going to add there. So I want to click on this. Let's add another question. And let's say, which of these do you like? Boom. All right. Now, this is actually a checkbox because I want them to be able to add more than one, right? So let's see. Pizza, carrots, cake, and candy. Okay. And we'll make this one required. Why not? So we have a simple quiz. Now you can keep adding questions, adding different types of questions. We're not going to go over all of those. You can just keep adding, you can add more sections. And we'll see what the sections do in a second. But if you've ever been to a Google quiz that makes you jump to a whole nother, you answer a couple questions and go to another section, that's what this section is. So let's go ahead and publish it. I told you, again, we can not do too much here. We can get to that's the section part, but I still can't submit it. So we're going to go ahead, close this, leave. We need to publish it. And responders, anyone who we give the link to, that sounds good. Publish. And now we can copy this link, or this is the same link, or we can copy the responder link, and then, or we can just preview it at this point, right? So, name is teacher, email is Nunya. Right, and then I like movie 1. Next, I like pizza, cake, and candy. Alright, did I not do something? Alright, so this is, again, it is preview mode, so I can't actually do it. So let's go ahead and do the real thing, because I already had that copied. And I'll fill this out even faster. That is. It's not a real URL anyway, but that's okay. Real thing. Okay, so now I can submit it. And I can keep doing this because this is a survey at this point, not really a quiz. So I'm not going to. But you can see right away, and this is why I waited to kind of go through these. Now we're going to see responses. One person responded. And this is what they typed, right? So I typed that. So that's what you're going to see. And also that's why I say if you let them type, every single name is going to be different in here eventually, right? The email should be different. So if you don't give them choices, you're going to get a bunch of responses. You can also link to sheets if you want to manipulate it and kind of look at the different pieces. But for now, let's turn this into a quiz, all right? So I get this question all the time. How do I turn this into a quiz? Assuming most of you can read, you click this box. All right, and then we'll kind of go over these, but it just depends on what you want, right? So immediately after your session, release grades, or later when I want them to read. I want them to see right away, because normally I use these as just practice quizzes, not real quizzes. So I want them to see the missed questions, the correct answers, the point value. I want to see them all because, again, I use these as practice quizzes. But you might want to narrow that down and say, hey, I don't want them to see the correct answers because what if they want to retake it? Now, some of these things go together, so responses, I do want to collect their email response because I don't want them to get the response because, again, this is going to be a quiz, but I want them not to edit it because it's a quiz, but I limit to one response, right? So, again, make sure that I'm collecting this is a real student and they get one chance. But, again, you can change what you want for your quiz. And then finally, presentation mode. You can mess around with these different settings as well. I've never used a quiz in a presentation before, but again, there's some things so you can see people going through the different pieces. But that's really it, right? I mean, so it's a little different in the fact that there's not really a menu bar per se. They have some menu stuff here, but most of your options are up here. You have a lot of settings. That's probably why they call it. Instead of a menu, this is some settings. And then you have your main question section. So let's go ahead and make this a real quiz. Because if you probably figured out, it's not really a quiz yet. It says it has 4 points, but one, they shouldn't get any points in their name. So you'll see there's answer key. So let's get rid of that point. They shouldn't get any points for that. So let's get rid of that point. And this one, there's another problem, right? They should get a point, but we haven't picked the right answer is. So let's go ahead and say that one. Done. All right. And then again, we got to click on. Now notice there is no right answer, but I click back on here. Now there is. All right. So do notice, pay attention to that. You're like, wait a second, I just set the answer to it. Well, it doesn't show unless you have it clicked on. So that's answer key, pizza, cake, and candy. Done. All right. Let's try to, again, don't preview it. I mean, you can preview it, but I want to copy that. Paste it, and try it again. All right, so again, this is a quiz, so I want to make sure it is who it is. And don't want to type in the right spot. Email. All right, that is my email address for all the people who say I'm sending this somewhere else. Yeah, movie 2, next. Yeah, I thought I checked that next. Pizza, carrot, candy, and submit. And then because I allowed this, again, this is a setting, and then also depending on the settings, it shows me what the right answers are. So, okay, great. Got 100. Go to responses. You'll see there's now 2, and first person got 0. And I think that might mostly be because, yeah, mostly because you took it before that was actually graded. So should have technically had 1 point, but it was before there was grades assigned, so the first one would have been wrong anyway, but the second one was correct. So, all right, with that, again, we're not going to go in a lot of details. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the charts. One thing you're going to remember is just if you give them the ability to write, you're going to get a lot of information. It's going to be harder to chart. You can send them a link, sheets to do all kinds of different sheets type stuff. And then remember to check settings. If you don't remember how to do a quiz, just remember what I've taught you to go through things, right? Click on stuff. Don't be afraid. Clicking on settings is never going to break it just by clicking on it. And then want to make it a quiz, there you go. That really is all there is to it. So the last piece, I guess, is to add a collaborator. You do need to make sure that you actually add them up here. Add them up there. And then go ahead and once they're added there, they can be a collaborator, right? Now you can actually share it to them. It'll email them and they can actually collaborate and it'll show up. So with that, that's all there is pretty much to this. So have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next class.